Buddha's teachings, Duties of the Brotherhood, Homeless Brothers, Chapter 1, Part 1. A man who wishes to become my disciple must be willing to give up all direct relations with his family, the social life of the world, and all dependence upon wealth. A man who has given up all such relations for the sake of the Dharma and has no abiding place for either his body or mind has become my disciple and is to be called a homeless brother. Though his feet leave their imprints in my footsteps and his hands carry my garment, if his mind is disturbed by greed, he is far from me. Though he dresses like a monk, if he doesn't accept the teaching, he doesn't see me. But if he has removed all greed and his mind is pure and peaceful, he is very close to me, though he be thousands of miles away. If he receives the Dharma, he see me in it. My disciples, the homeless brothers, must observe the four rules and build their lives upon them. First, they wear old and cast off garments. Second, they get their food through alms begging. Third, their home is where night finds them, as under a tree or on a rock. Or fourth, they use only a special medicine made from urine laid down by the brotherhood. To carry a bowl in the hand and go from house to house is a beggar's life, but a brother is not compelled to do so by others. It is not forced into it by circumstances or by temptation. He does it of his own free will because he knows that the life of faith will keep him away from the delusions of life, will help him to avoid suffering, and will lead him toward enlightenment. The life of a homeless brother is not an easy one. He ought not to undertake it if he can not keep his mind free from greed and anger, or if he can not control his mind or his five senses. He who believes himself to be a homeless brother and to be able to answer when he is asked about it must be able to say, I am willing to undertake whatever is necessary to be a homeless brother. I will be sincere about it and will try to accomplish the purpose for becoming one. I will be grateful to those who help me by donations and will try to make them happy by my earnestness and good life. To be a homeless brother, he must train himself in many ways. He must be sensitive to shame and dishonor when he fails. He must keep his body, speech, and mind pure. If his life is to be pure, he must guard the gates of his five senses. He must not lose control of his mind for the sake of some passing pleasure. He must not praise himself or rebuke others, and he must not be idle or given to lengthy sleep. In the evening, he should have a time for quiet sitting and meditation and a short walk before retiring. For peaceful sleep, he should rest on the right side and his feet together, and his last thought should be of the time when he wishes to rise in the early morning. Early in the morning, he should have another time for quiet sitting and meditation for a short walk afterwards. During the whole day, he should always maintain an alert mind, keeping both body and mind under control, resisting all tendencies towards greed, anger, foolishness, sleepiness, inattention, regret, suspicion, and all worldly desires. Thus, with his mind concentrated, He should cultivate excellent wisdom and aim only at perfect enlightenment. If a homeless brother, forgetting himself, lapses into greed, anger, resentment, jealousy, conceit, self praise, or insincerity, he is like one carrying a keen two edged sword covered only by a thin cloth. He is not a homeless brother simply because he wears a monk's rags and carries a begging bowl. He is not a homeless brother just because he recites scriptures easily. He is only a man of straw and nothing more. Even if his external appearance is that of a monk, he cannot remove his worldly desires. He is not a homeless brother. He is no more than an infant clothed in a monk's robe. Those who are able to concentrate and control the mind, who contain wisdom, who have removed all worldly desires, and whose only purpose is to attain enlightenment, only these can be called the true homeless brothers. A true homeless brother determines to reach his goal of enlightenment even though he loses his last drop of blood and his bones crumble into par. Such a man, trying his best, will finally attain the goal and give evidence of it by his ability to do the meritorious deeds of a homeless brother. The mission of a homeless brother is to carry forward the light of the Buddha's teachings. He must preach to everyone. He must wake up sleeping people. He must correct false ideas. He must help people have a right viewpoint. He must go everywhere to spread the teaching, even at the risk of his own life. The mission of a homeless brother is not an easy one, so he who aspires to it should wear Buddha's clothes, sit on Buddha's seat, and enter into Buddha's room. To wear Buddha's clothes means to be humble and to practice endurance. To sit on Buddha's seat means to see matter as non substantial and to have no attachments. To enter into Buddha's room means to share his all embracing great compassion and to have sympathy for everyone. Those who wish to teach the Buddha's teaching acceptably must be concerned about four things. First, they must be concerned about their own behavior. Second, they must be concerned about their choice of words when they approach and teach people. Third, they must be concerned about their motive for teaching and the end they wish to accomplish. The fourth, they must be concerned about the great compassion. Firstly, to be a good teacher of the Dharma, then a homeless brother must first of all have his feet well set on the ground of endurance. He must be modest. He must not be extreme or desire publicity. He must constantly think of the emptiness of things and he must not become attached to anything. If he is thus concerned, he will be capable of right conduct. Secondly, he must exercise caution in approaching people and situations. He must avoid people who are living evil live lives or people of authority. He must avoid opposite sex. Then he must approach people in a friendly way. He must always remember that things rise from a combination of causes and conditions, and standing at that point, he must not blame or abuse them, or speak of their mistakes, or hold them in light esteem. Thirdly, he must keep his mind peaceful, considering Buddha as his spiritual father, considering other homeless brothers who are training for enlightenment as his teachers, and looking upon everyone with great compassion. Then he must teach all equally. Fourthly, he must let his spirit of compassion display itself, even as Buddha did, to the utmost degree. Especially, he should let his spirit of compassion flow out to those who do not know enough to seek enlightenment. He should wish that they might seek enlightenment, and then he should follow his wishes with unselfish effort to awaken their interest. Hari Om Tat Sat. Teachings, Lay Followers, Chapter 1, Part 2. To become a disciple of Buddha, one must believe in the three treasures, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. To become a lay follower, one must have an unshakable faith in Buddha, must believe in his teachings, study and put precepts into practice, and must cherish the brotherhood. Lay followers should follow the 5 precepts: not to kill, not to steal, not to commit adultery, not to lie or deceive, and not to use intoxicants. Lay followers should not only believe in the 3 treasures and keep the precepts by themselves, but also they should, as far as they are able, help others observe them, especially their relatives and friends, trying to awaken in them an unshakable faith in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, so that they too may share in Buddha's compassion. Lay followers should always remember that the reason they believe in the 3 treasures and keep the precepts is to enable themselves ultimately to attain enlightenment, and for that reason they should, though living in the world of desires, avoid becoming attached to such desires. Lay followers should always keep in mind that sooner or later they will be obliged to part with their parents and families and pass away from this life of birth and death. Therefore, they should not become attached to things of this life, but should set their minds on the world of enlightenment wherein nothing passes away. If lay followers want to awaken an earnest and undisturbed faith in the Buddha's teachings, they should realize within their minds a quiet and undisturbed happiness that will shine out on all their surroundings and will be reflected back to them. The mind of faith is pure and gentle, always patient and enduring, never arguing, never causing suffering to others, but always pondering the 3 treasures, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Thus, happiness spontaneously rises in their minds, and the light for enlightenment can be found everywhere. Since they are resting in the bosom of Buddha by faith, they are kept far from having a selfish mind, from attachment to their possessions, and therefore they have no fear in their daily life or dread of being criticized. They will have no fear about their future death, since they believe in the faith in Buddha's land. Since they have faith in the truth and the holiness of the teachings, they can express their thoughts freely and without fear. Since their minds are filled with compassion for all people, they will make no distinctions among them, but will treat all alike, and since their minds are free from likes and dislikes, it will be pure and equitable and happy for them to do any good deed. Whether they live in adversity or in prosperity, it will make no difference to the increase of their faith. If they cherish humility, if they respect the Buddha's teachings, if they are consistent in speech and action, if they are guided by wisdom, if their mind is as immovable as a mountain, then they will make steady progress on the path to enlightenment. And though they are forced to live in a difficult situation and among people of impure minds, if they cherish faith in Buddha, they can ever lead them towards better deeds. Therefore, one should first have the wish of hearing the Buddha's teachings. If anyone should tell him that it would be necessary for him to go through fire to gain enlightenment, then he should be willing to pass through such a fire. There is satisfaction in hearing the Buddha's name that is worth passing through a world filled with fires. If one wishes to follow the Buddha's teaching, one must not be egoistic or self willed, but should cherish feelings of goodwill toward all alike. One should respect those who are worthy of respect, one should serve those who are worthy of service, and treat everyone with uniform kindness. Thus, lay followers are to train their own minds first and not be disturbed by the actions of others. In this manner, they are to receive the Buddha's teaching and put it into practice, not envying others, not being influenced by others, and not considering other ways. Those who do not believe in the Buddha's teachings have a narrow vision and consequently a disturbed mind. But those who believe in the Buddha's teaching believe that there is a great wisdom and a great compassion embracing everything, and in that faith they are undisturbed by trifles. Those who hear and receive the Buddha's teaching know that their lives are transient and that their bodies are merely the aggregation of sufferings and the source of all evils, and so they do not become attached to them. At the same time, they do not neglect to take good care of their bodies, not because they wish to enjoy and physical pleasures of the body, but because the body is temporarily necessary for the attainment of wisdom and for their mission of explaining the path to others. If they do not take care of their bodies, they cannot live long. If they do not live long, they cannot practice the teaching personally or transmit to others. If a man wishes to cross a river, he is very careful of his raft. If he has a long journey to make, he takes good care of his horse. So, if a man seeks to attain enlightenment, he must take good care of his body. The disciples of Buddha must wear clothing to protect the body from extremes of heat and cold, and to cover its private parts, and should not wear it for decoration. They must eat food to nourish the body so that they may hear and receive and explain the teaching, but they should not eat for mere enjoyment. They must live in the house of enlightenment to be protected from the thieves of worldly passions and from the storms of evil teaching, and they should use the house for its real purpose and not for display or the concealment of selfish practices. Thus, one should value things and use them solely in their relation to enlightenment and the teaching. He should not possess them or become attached to them for selfish reasons, but only as they serve a useful purpose in carrying the teachings to others. Therefore, his mind should always dwell on the teaching even when he is living with his family. He should care for them with a wise and sympathetic mind, seeking various means to awaken faith in their minds. Lay members of the Buddha's Sangha should study the following lessons every day: how to serve their parents, how to live with their wives and children, how to control themselves, and how to serve Buddha. To best serve their parents, they must learn to practice kindness toward all animate life. To live happily with their wives and children, they must keep away from lust and thoughts of selfish comfort. While hearing the music of the family life, they must not forget and the sweeter music of the teaching, and while living in the shelter of the home, they should often seek the safer shelter of Zen practices, where wise men find refuge from all impurity and all disturbance. When laymen are giving offerings, they should remove all greed from their hearts. When they are in the midst of crowds, their mind should be in the company of wise men. When they face misfortune, they should keep their minds tranquil and free from hindrances. When they take refuge in Buddha, they should seek his wisdom. When they take refuge in the Dharma, they should seek its truth, which is like a great ocean of wisdom. When they take refuge in the Sangha, they should seek its peaceful fellowship, unobstructed by selfish interests. When they wear clothes, they must not forget to put on also the garment of goodness and humility. When they want to relieve themselves, they must wish to discharge all greed, anger, and foolishness from their minds. When they are toiling on an uphill road, they should think of it as the road to enlightenment that will carry them beyond the world of delusion. When they are following an easy road, they should take advantage of its easier conditions to make greater progress toward Buddhahood. When they see a bridge, they must wish to construct the bridge of the teaching to let the people cross. When they meet a sorrowful man, they should lament the bitterness of this ever changing world. When they see a greedy man, they should have a great longing to keep free from the illusions of this life and to attain the true riches of enlightenment. When they see savory food, they must be on guard. When they see distasteful food, they should wish that greed might never return. During the intense heat of summer, they must wish to be away from the heat of worldly desires and gain and the flesh coolness of enlightenment. During the unbearable cold of winter, they must think of the warmth of Buddha's great compassion. When they recite the sacred scriptures, they should be determined not to forget them and resolve to put their teaching into practice. When they think of Buddha, they should cherish a deep wish to have eyes like Buddha. As they fall asleep at night, they should wish that their body, speech, and mind might be purified and refreshed. When they awake in the morning, their first wish should be that during that day their minds might be clear to understand all things. Those who follow the teachings of Buddha because they understand that everything is characterized by non substantiality do not treat lightly the things that enter into a man's life, but they receive them for what they are and then try to make them fit tools for enlightenment. They must not think that this world is meaningless and filled with confusion, while the world of enlightenment is full of meaning and peace. Rather, they should taste the way of enlightenment in all the affairs of this world. If a man looks upon the world with defiled eyes, dimmed by ignorance, he will see it filled with error. But if he looks upon it with clear wisdom, he will see it as the world of enlightenment, which is it is. The fact is, there is only one world, not two worlds are one meaningless and the other full of meaning, or one good and the other bad. People only think there are two worlds due to their discriminating faculty. If they could rid themselves of these discriminations and keep their minds pure with the light of wisdom, then they would see only one world in which everything is meaningful. Those who believe in Buddha taste this universal purity of oneness in everything, and in that mind they feel compassion for all and have a humble attitude to serve everyone. Therefore, they should cleanse their minds of all pride and cherish humility, courtesy, and service. Their minds should be like the fruitful earth that nourishes everything without partiality, that serves without complaint, that endures patiently, that is always zealous, that finds its highest joy in serving all poor people by planting in their minds the seeds of the Buddha's teachings. Thus, the mind that has compassion for poor people becomes a mother to all people, honors all people, looks upon all as personal friends, and respects them as parents. Therefore, though thousands of people may have hard feelings and cherish ill will toward Buddhist lay followers, they can do no harm, for such harm is like a drop of poison in the waters of a great ocean. A lay follower will enjoy his happiness by habits of recollection, reflection, and thanksgiving. He will come to realize that his faith is Buddha's compassion itself and that it has been bestowed upon him by Buddha. There are no seeds of faith in the mud of worldly passion, but because of Buddha's compassion, the seeds of faith may be sown there and they will purify the mind until it has faith to believe in Buddha. As has been said, the fragrant chandana tree cannot grow in a forest of aranda trees. In a like manner, the seeds of faith in Buddha cannot be in the bosom of delusion, but actually the flower of joy is blooming there. So we must conclude that while its blossoms are in the bosom of delusion, its roots are elsewhere, namely, its roots are in the bosom of Buddha. If a lay follower becomes ego centered, he will become zealous, envious, hateful, and harmful because his mind has become defiled with greed, anger, and foolishness. But if he returns to Buddha, he will accomplish even a greater service for Buddha as mentioned above. It is indeed beyond any expression. Hari Om Tat Sat.